generation, but rather invoke a revolution in my generation. See, I grew up in a village. And believe it or not, there was a curfew, and only few had the strength to get out. Deaths by hippos sent shivers down the spines of all those who heard or even solved the cases. And so, I and many of my age grew up with this mentality that a swamp is nothing but a menace to humanity. But after my research, however, I gained information right and gained the understanding, and I would like to share the same light and foresight. See, a swamp is not just a place of infestation, but it is a habitation, a place of recreation and education. It provides food for human beings through them fishing. It absorbs excess gases, and also it absorbs water that leads to flooding. There are so many more advancements and benefits to swamps, and I am surprised. I'm sure you are too. But with all this benefit, it still faces threats from the same entities it provides and protects. From cutting of trees during relocation, from our cars and power plants, air pollution, distortion and diversion of water to and from the swamps. And it is sad to imagine that from the above, distortion of the balance in the ecosystem, invasion of species which leads them to be killed, and even human beings destroying original species, introduction of non-native plants that compete with original species. These and many more are just effects. And friends, this is where we come in. Enhancing laws and policies that protect the swamps. Creating and developing awareness by teaching in camps. I would like to invite you, ladies and gentlemen, and explain clearly that indeed, if we work through deeds, we will save the swamps indeed. Thank you.
Clap for Neema one more time. I understand Dr. Tolu is ready now to present. Then thereafter we'll have Mrs. Veronica Mwai and Professor Melitas presenting. So, Dr. Tolu. Dr. Tolu, if you can hear us, we are ready to listen to you. Dr. Tolu Owaje is the HOD Music, the Faculty of Arts, University of Ibadan, Nigeria. And he will be presenting on education and practice of the creative arts in the age of digital technology. Dr.
this conference. My name Twenty ten. et al. 2016. Till the present times. The reshaping brought about as a result of the adoption of digital technology occurs in such areas as communication, education, politics, and economic structures, fueling global connectivity through the advent of the internet and the social media. Against this backdrop, this study engages education and practice of the creative arts in the age of digital technology, with particular focus on music. It engages a discourse of educational practices in the creative arts in the pre-digital age, and also examines the digital revolution and its effects on education and general professional life, as well as the impacts of digital media on creative arts education, with particular focus on music. While primary data were gathered from interaction with music educators, secondary data were also generated from existing studies relevant to this discourse. The studies draws from Everett Rogers' diffusion of innovation theory to explain how digital tools have become widely adopted in every facet of life, especially in the creative arts. Innovative technologies has generally increased creativity and has been adopted by the creative arts in the digital era. Innovators and early adopters are people who initially embraced digital products like Adobe Suite, CorelDRAW, and Sibelius. The early majority, that is schools and teachers, are incorporating these tools in their curriculum because they have shown to be effective, whereas the late majority adopts them out of necessity. The least quick to adjust or laggards continue to use conventional techniques but are under growing pressure to change as the sector moves towards using digital tools. The practice and teaching of the creative arts have changed as a result of this gradual acceptance, and digital literacy has become necessary. Digital technology in the creative arts. The digital revolution has significantly transformed the creative arts and has ushered in the new era of artistic expression and innovation. Berry, 2012. In respect to research in the creative arts, for example, Berry 2012 noted the impact digital technology has had in the way research is carried out, arguing that there is really an academic that does not employ digital technology in their research endeavors. As noted by Edmonds et al., 2005, the advent of digital media and computational tools has as well opened up a world of possibilities that enable artists to push beyond the bounds of creativity, thereby exploring new realms of artistic expression. In the visual arts, for instance, digital tools like Adobe Suite, which consists of various programs used in graphic design and photo editing, have brought transformation to artistic outputs. Apart from Adobe Suite, other digital tools such as CorelDRAW, Graphic Suite have also revolutionized the way the visual artists easily create highly detailed artworks. Through the use of these digital tools and many more, artists are able to create photorealistic arts, experiment with 3D modeling, and use digital painting techniques to express ideas that might be difficult or sometimes time-consuming through the traditional media. Mike Winkelmann is one of the prominent artists whose digital artworks have gained prominence, especially in the NFT space. The digital revolution has also transformed how humans interact with and experience art. Contrary to the traditional model of arts appreciation, the widespread digitization of art collections has made it easy for individuals to explore and enjoy artworks that are located in various museums and art galleries in locations that are very far from them. This helps to expand our access to, as well as our understanding of the creative arts. This is made possible through the internet and the use of digital devices that enable pictures and videos of such artworks to be captured and put on a web page, where they can either be viewed for free or through authorized access. Likewise, rather than raking in money only through physical exploration of the museum or gallery, artists can now make more money through authorized access given to online viewers. Digital technology in music. The discourse surrounding digital technology in music manifests in the areas of music composition, music performance, music recording, music distribution, music analysis, and criticism. Music composition. Music composition in the analog era required the use of manuscripts to manually document musical ideas on paper. In my research endeavors on the Yoruba native air tradition in Christian liturgy, particularly in the aspect of its history, one of the problems I have come about regarding documentation of the works of composers whose works I understudied borders on improper documentation and loss of manuscripts. All of these are as a result of the use of an analog technique of music composition and documentation. In addition, they can easily store their musical works in universal digital storage devices such as flash drive and external hard drive in any format. They can also save their musical works on cloud-based storage platforms like Google Drive, Google Cloud, Dropbox, Microsoft OneDrive, and Internext. In addition, all the music notation programs work with a universal file format named Music XML. An XML-based, that is extensible markup language file format for representing Western musical notation. Musical works in Music XML can be edited on many or all of the aforementioned music programs, providing easy access to music information regardless of the specific program used in writing them. Some of these programs are as well equipped with features that allow them translate musical scores into picture and PDF format into editable music data. The place of artificial intelligence in music composition is also becoming notable with tools like AIVA, which allows one to create a new composition using various preloaded steps and ideas like style, chord, progression, step by step, influence, and MIDI. Exploring all these digital tools makes music composition become an easier task, depending on the capability of the composer to work with the computer, shown as we see on the screen. Our workplaces from AIVA, that is AI composition tool. Music performance. In music performance, digital technology has provided musicians with lots of tools that enhance music performance, making performance much easier than it used to be in the analog era. For example, digital audio workstations, DAW, like Ableton Live, enable musicians to manipulate sound in real time whenever they are performing. Ableton Live helps musicians to trigger between preset loops, add effects, and alter the structure of a song on the go. This way, musicians are able to dynamically interact with their audience. Similar experience can be achieved using sophisticated digital keyboards, also referred to as synthesizers, such as the Yamaha Montage and Yamaha MODX. Within the Nigerian popular music landscape, the solo saxophonists especially have demonstrated a unique innovation through the use of pre-recorded audio loops that serve as their accompaniment, containing desired instruments while they perform alone. Although this is a time-consuming task that requires the saxophonist to put in so much effort, it gives them the liberty of achieving their desired creativity level. Such pre-recorded loops have been used by solo saxophonists, especially in Ibadan metropolis, for as much duration as they are required to play. There is also the hybrid performance in which artists blend traditional musical instruments with digital tools to create hybrid performances. In this case, they make use of gadgets like personal computers, phones, and tabs to incorporate such sounds to their performance. This drum sequence, when used by live dance bands, provides them with a metronome and also enables them to disengage in succession if they have to do so, especially during a long hour performance. It also opens up an opportunity for them as recording artists. These musicians can record as much varieties as possible and market them using digital platforms. Similarly, Ed Sheeran also utilizes looping technologies in live performances to build complex layers of sound using just a guitar and a loop pedal. Apart from all of these, the use of artificial intelligence in musical performances is fast becoming notable, with artists such as Holly Handon, who makes use of a trained AI tool named Spam that enhances her creativity even during live performances. She made use of the AI tool in her album Proto, which was released in 2019. Lastly, one of the advantages of digital technology in musical performances is the opportunity for collaborative composition and virtual performances that allow remote collaboration. This facility was explored in diverse ways during the COVID-19 lockdown in 2020. For instance, Travis Scott and Marshmello both held virtual concerts in 2020 inside Fortnite, a video game, attracting about 12.3 million of viewers. This number of viewers have never been gathered in a location for a live performance, but this size of audience was able to participate actively in the in-game concert held by Travis Scott and Marshmello. Choral groups such as the Capital Pride Singers, the Iolians, the Shades of Yale, and Mossborough Virtual Choir all made use of digital platforms such as Zoom and Twitch in achieving various recordings of the song We Shall Overcome. This is despite their members being in separate locations around the world. It is therefore important for music education to take account of these sorts of innovation in the training of music graduates in order to equip them to achieve such innovations and thereby remain relevant in the contemporary performance space. Music recording / distribution. Music production in the analog era required a band to perform together without break, while also avoiding mistakes during recording sessions. It also required spending so much time at the recording studio. Music production has however, become one of the simplest musical activities, thanks to the development of digital tools that enable music production at any capacity, whether large or small scale. Sound designers and music producers make use of music production programs such as Cubase, Logic Pro, FL Studio, and BandLab to produce music, alongside the use of other gadgets such as sound card, pop filter, microphones, mixer, and MIDI controller. However, beyond the use of these gadgets that are usually found in professional studios, music production can now be done on programs like BandLab and FL Studio, which work on any digital device like Android phone, tablet, and laptop. This allows individuals to use their phone to produce music from scratch without limitation. Music distribution in the analog era also required doubling plates and cassettes, which are only playable on these designated devices. However, digital revolution has created multimedia platforms for storing and distributing music. For instance, while the analog distribution required cassette players to play songs stored in cassettes, music storage, especially those in audio formats, can now be distributed online, where consumers can access them through permits granted to them after they might have made some payments. They can also be streamed through streaming platforms where the accumulated number of listeners translate into money for musicians. Music analysis and criticism. Music analysis and criticism in the analog era depended on both listening and glancing through musical scores to find identifiable properties such as melody, rhythm, form, and structure, harmony, texture, and text. However, digital technology has provided tools to aid music analysis and criticism, offering a faster and easier approach in music analysis and critique. Electronic keyboards, for instance, can analyze musical notes recorded in them and generate musical scores for visual rehearsal or sounds. Similarly, AIVA music composition tool mentioned earlier also analyzes musical notes by breaking down pieces and generating variations based on the structure of the primary sounds. Through the use of AI plugins, Sonic Visualizer also helps to analyze music by providing detailed visual representations of audio files, focusing on pitch, harmony, and rhythm. Other tools in this category include Google Magenta and MuseNet. Apart from this, ChatGPT, that is OpenAI, also demonstrates excellent music analysis and criticism capacity. Using ChatGPT 4, I uploaded one of my musical arrangements, Ayemi Yodara, shown below, instructing ChatGPT to analyze and critique the piece. As can be seen in the response above, the analysis and critique are exhaustive and comparable to what a competent human critic would have achieved. However, this tool cannot be heavily relied upon, as it could sometimes be susceptible to hallucination. From the musical score, the author's name is at the left top corner, which contains the name of the arranger or lyricist. The response generated by ChatGPT, however, proclaims the author as composer, whereas the composer's name at the top right corner is completely ignored. However, while students need to be introduced to these facilities, they must also be subjected to human intervention and moderation. With the use of the aforementioned digital tools, music composition, performance, recording, distribution, analysis, and criticism have become easier process than they were in the analog era. There is need for music educators to engage students in the use of these tools to boost productivity, especially those that relate to their areas of specialization. This has become very necessary in order that music graduates can use their deep knowledge of music and the available digital tools to negotiate desired space for themselves in the rapidly evolving musical world. It is important to note that these tools are becoming popular, that individuals without formal musical knowledge can make good music after a series of trials and errors. Ethical concerns in the use of digital technology in music education. There have always been concerns about the use of digital tools, especially artificial intelligence, in educational context. Such concerns border on the possibility of these tools to prevent students from engaging in critical thinking. While this may be a valid argument, it is important for students to be trained based on industrial trends so that their ability to use these tools can become an advantage for them in the labor market. The role of music educators in this regard is therefore to devise ways by which students can make use of these digital tools and personalize them in such ways that their use only enhances their own creativity. This could be achieved through analog class works and other exercises that would require them to demonstrate their own creativity and outside the use of the digital tools. Conclusion. In line with the diffusion of innovation theory, digital technology has revolutionized the creative arts. Like every other sector of human life, in the creative arts, digital technology has provided tools with which artists can easily produce and express their creativity. In music especially, digital technology has impacted composition, performance, recording, distribution, analysis, and criticism. It is therefore important for music educators to engage students in the use of digital tools to boost productivity, especially those that relate to their areas of specialization. By combining their musical skills with mastery of digital tools in their specified areas, they would be able to maintain their relevance in the labor market, even as music making and performance have become volatile. Although there are ethical concerns surrounding the use of digital tools, music educators should devise ways by which students can make use of these digital tools and personalize them in such ways that their use only enhance students' creativity. Thank you for listening, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Daktari. We'll only allow one question. Only one question to Daktari. Yes.
Yes, I just have one question. I wanted to find out how do you foresee the tension between AI-generated music and human creativity evolving in the next, let's say, 5 or 10 years?
Dr. Tolu, you got the question? Maybe
And music in the next couple of years.
Yes, that was the question. I was trying to find out, in your own view, how do you foresee the tension between AI-generated music and human creativity evolving in the next 5 or 10 years?
Yeah. Do I answer the question right away?
we can give you time, Dr. Tolu. You can come in a bit some other time if you are not ready. but if you are, you can just answer now.
There will be some kind of centrifugal and centripetal forces. You know, AI will try to mimic, what man can do, as it has been doing. It will try to, AI is generated by data from mankind, really. So it will try to continue to mimic and get better. But the truth of the matter is that man's effort is done. AI can be man, and man can really not be AI. Though man is the one that feeds AI with data to act. So it will be the forces will be, the tension will pull in and out, centrifugal and centripetal kind of forces. So that's my take on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Tolu, for that answer. I now want us to move to the next paper presentations. And this time round, we are only going to give participants presenting their papers 10 minutes only because of time. Otherwise, we might run into very late into the night. So the first presenter to come over is Mrs. Veronica Mwaingonjiri. Okay, Ms. Mwaingonjiri will be presenting a paper on reimagining arts education and practice in the digital space. Thereafter, after Ms. Veronica is through with her paper, we are going to have Dr. Joyce Mochere coming on with the evolving music technologies in the music industry and their impact on music education. Then we'll have Mr. Fred Kebe coming on with Quantum Leap, a fixed point. Welcome.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am getting technological help from the Gen Z. I am not sure which Gen I am myself. My name is Mrs. Veronica Mwaingonjiri. I am a teacher by profession, and I am also a Master's of Education, of Music Education, here at Barak University. And I'm presenting this paper. We have authored this paper with my supervisor, one of my supervisors, Professor Melitas Wanyama, who is in our presence today. We have had a good day. I have enjoyed myself. I've enjoyed the following the deliberations. And as a teacher who is teaching music, one of the arts, I'd wish to present reimagining arts education and practice in the digital space. I'll begin with my abstract, and of course realizing that we have heard from the previous presenter about digital revolution. I will not talk much about it, otherwise known as the third industrial revolution, information age, and so on. And with arts education being the learning and the instruction and all the programs that help learners acquire the skill in visual and tangible art, I wish to say that the arts education and performance is evolving and continues to evolve due to enhanced technology and the digitization we are living in. And this study, it seeks to investigate the implementation impact of digital popular music education with a focus on pedagogical preparedness, gaps, challenges, and opportunities the digital tools that of course have come from the digital space present. I wish to say that the constructivist paradigm and the qualitative method approach has been used to analyze existing data, and we shall see that findings suggest that digital tools offer significant benefit, but also present pertinent pedagogical concerns. Of course, pedagogical to do the teacher training, because we recognize the space and the importance of a teacher in learning and teaching. The digital revolution has significantly impacted arts education, and I will talk in reference to popular music education. Traditional frameworks in music education are challenged by the need to integrate digital technologies And there is an urgent need to reassess arts education in the digital space. And the digital space also presents challenges and opportunities for popular music education. The objectives of the study. This study wishes to reassess arts education with a focus on popular music in the digital space, and mainly to explore the gaps, challenges, and opportunities presented by digital tools in the music education. We are also going to examine the impact of digital transformation on educators, music educators, and the students. As I've mentioned there before, the contractivist paradigm has been used for the research, of course, from the contractivism theory that says that no students comes to class empty-brained, and also knowledge is created from experiences, perceptions, interactions as we go on. Qualitative research methods have been used, and I'm focusing on secondary data. And the main focus of this study is to evaluate digital adoption in popular music education. The data was collected from various secondary sources, academic journals, government reports, NGO publications, and also reputable online databases, where the criteria of or considered credibility of the sources, with preference given to peer-reviewed articles, journals, official reports, and publications from reputable organizations. And one of the key sources was the UN Habitat that provided valuable insights into educational infrastructure and digital initiatives across the countries. The data was systematically selected based on relevance, reliability, and recency, considering that this digital space is evolving every day. The key findings regarding the digital adoption in music education is that the current state, as I indicated, I am a teacher. The current state is that there is limited use of digital tools, primarily for administrative tasks like setting the exams. We do use the preparation of the lesson plans. We do use the digital tools, and also have partial integration where the digital tools are often supplementary rather than the central to teaching, as it would be envisaged in the digital space. I have a tabular presentation that highlights the main aspects that have to do with instruction, that has to do with learning. I have a column for aspect, I have a column for traditional music education, and I have another column for digital music education. And when you look at the comparison, you find that in traditional music education, there's the direct hands-on instructional with personal interaction, whereas on the in digital music education, you have online platforms, virtual instruments, and also software-based learning. The instructor role, in this case, the teacher is a central figure, where you have immediate feedback and also personalized guidance, as compared to facilitator of digital tools that guiding students through virtual resources. I have another aspect that we have compared the two, the learning experience, and we find that the traditional setup is face-to-face engagement, physical presence, and also with physical instruments at hand, whereas in the digital music education, we would have remote learning, we have virtual engagement, and also interactive softwares on the digital space. Another aspect of instruction, resource accessibility. And in traditional method, we find that it's limited to physical resources, textbook, and in-person experiences, which I actually find, in especially our Kenyan setup, we have very few schools that take music. due to lack of physical human resource, the teachers, as opposed to digital music education, where you have broad access to digital resources, online libraries, and a virtual instrument. We had our keynote speaker say that he interacted with the piano the first time when he went to secondary schools. Yet, right now, we have interaction even as early as it can be. Another aspect is the resource, is the student interaction. We have direct interaction with educators and the peers in a physical setting. But in the digital space, we have interaction through digital platforms, forums, and also collaborative tools. Feedback mechanisms, traditionally it is immediate, real-time feedback during lessons and practice sessions. Whereas in the digital space, it is delayed or asynchronous feedback through the digital platforms. Pedagogical flexibility is another aspect that I considered, and we find that it is a structured curriculum with less adaptability, where we have a curriculum where we stick to, as opposed to flexibility, customizable learning experience that is available on the digital space. Another aspect, professional development. Traditionally, we are still stuck to traditional training programs and workshops and insets. Whereas in the digital space, there is a need for ongoing digital literacy training and adaptation to new technologies. And in this regard, I know that we do have, in our country, we have the Kenya National Digital Master Plan, learning from 2022 to 2032. And I know the Ministry of Education, the KICD, the Kenya National Examination Council is actually mandated to do this, but I want to say, on the ground, very little is going on. The challenges, there is limitation by physical resources and also geographical constraints, which are broken on the digital space because of the technological issues. And then there is resistance to change. Our attitudes as the old teachers. Sometimes somebody says it is difficult to teach an old dog new tricks, and also the requirements of digital literacy out of our comfort zone. It is eating to our challenges. Challenges faced by educators, we have the lack of training, as I have said, in the need. There is dire need for professional development to use digital tools effectively, because we know that they're here to stay and they'll continue changing every day. There is need that as music educators, we step up and we embrace the TPD. There is also resistance to change, which is usually man is resistant to change naturally. And we need to depart that, change our attitudes, and especially also towards popular music, towards the digital tools, both for educators and the students. Resource availability is another challenge. There is limited access to technological gadgets and reliable internet, connectivity to electricity, and it gives a challenge in the accessibility to the digital tools. What are the gaps that we have? We have gaps in student engagement as well, and there is a potential for passive learning and disengagement. Some students may feel, I cannot learn this, so I will not learn it. The others may digress from what they are learning and they go to other areas where they can, instead of actually learning music education, then they could be something, they could disengage themselves from the process. Importance of active participation, there is need for tools that enhance hands-on practice and also engagement. The next slide, as we go on, we shall see how we do that. Discussions and implications. As you were told in the morning, or as our keynote speaker talked about, there is discussions and we must keep talking to each other. Professional development, there is need for targeted training programs for educators. The infrastructure investment, Importance of supporting digital integration with adequate resources, especially for our public schools. And then there is need for pedagogical re-evaluation, which calls for adapting teaching methods to leverage on digital tools while still preserving core educational values. Remember, we are running a curriculum. It is not a free wheel. Innovating practices in digital music education, collaborative projects. It has been talked much about by the speakers who have been before me, that the digital tools can be used for collaborative projects and aspects. You can have group compositions and performances that will make sure that our students remain grounded and do not disengage. Immersive technologies, the use of virtual reality and the augmented reality for engaging learning experiences. Once a student dons that headgear, the VR, then you are sure they are there. And of course, the augmented reality is where they experience that virtual world almost physically. They can see an instrument and also touch it on a screen. Personalized learning, we can have adaptive technologies that are tailored for music education. What are the future directions? Further research, of course, required, where we need to investigate digital tools' impact on learning outcomes and how to overcome the adoption barriers. Professional development, we must evaluate the effectiveness of training programs that are going to help the digital integration. And I have a call to action as a teacher that we need to encourage continuous adaptation and innovation in teaching methods, that we must stay relevant in the digital space or the digital era. Remember, the digital tools are very many. The digital space is very wide. We must revel it and see that we remain relevant. I conclude by saying that indeed digital tools offer potential enhancements, but they also require strategic integration. I end my presentation there. It is a paper that has been published, and I offer the link, and you can interact on that with that paper more, because it's a much longer paper. Otherwise, thank you very, very much for listening.
Thank you very much. We're going to allow just one question from the people seated there, the listeners. If there isn't any, then we'll just move to the next presenter. Okay, there is a question for you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm not going to ask a question, particularly not with Prof. Wanyamani sitting next to me. I wouldn't. Okay, that was on a light note. I think we have a problem. We have a very big problem ahead of us. And I was listening to you. Thank you very much for your informative presentation. It was clear and straightforward. I would like to just state that I think we have a problem that not only is directed to educators, but is directed to all the stakeholders involved, be it the students, be it the government, be it the institutions, the management, and so forth. That going forward, we don't have time for, if I may put it that way, we don't have any more time left to prepare ourselves what is upon us. I mean, even with the writings that we are doing, the publications, the response and the recommendations that we are putting on paper, they don't have enough time really for us to attend to. I'm saying this because there are advantages with the digital approach. But if you look closely, there are more problems than solutions. One would ask, what was wrong or what is wrong with, particularly with musicians? Musicians who perform live in particular, what has been the problem with the traditional approach in performances? And what has been the problem with the physical interaction in class with the students? You know, one would go as far as saying there is more problems that are brought by innovation than solutions. So it is, like I said, it is more of a comment, and I think it's more of a question that we need to also direct to the floor as to how do we maneuver, particularly with us Africans, you know, because with us, we are unfortunate that these kind of innovations are invented elsewhere. And then when they come to us, they come as solution, where else they are problematic. So how do we, with our unique challenges, address or maneuver through this? I might not have a question. I'm not expecting Moses Veronica to respond to that, but it's just a comment or a question that I'm laying also to the floor, that I think it's really something that is urgent and you need to look into. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Mrs. Veronica, for such a wonderful presentation. So my question is that given the challenges of integrating digital tools in music education, particularly the risk of passive learning, how can we design digital experiences that maintain the hands-on, interactive nature of traditional music education while still leveraging the benefits of studying online or using technology?
Thank you so much for your presentation. My question is in two folds. The first one is, what are some of the strategic ways, according to you, which we can integrate music into the classroom? The same question that Mr. Githinji has. And also, for now that we don't have these strategic ways, what can music educators do to enable, to bridge the gap between the classroom and the industry, digital-wise?
I don't think there is any other question. Let the presenter respond to those two questions. One of them was a remark, not really a question as such. But you can also say something about it.
All right, thank you very much. And I agree with what my brother from the South has said. I guess the main thing is also about attitude, and we need to break that attitude, because my experience is that we believe that much from the West is actually destructive. So we need to break those attitudes and know that these things, if strategically used, if well analyzed, and if properly and correctly integrated, then we can gain the potential, we can realize the potential that we have. But I agree, they come, but we find like they are a challenge. About The passiveness and the disengagement, I've talked about the virtual reality and the augmented reality. Because once a student is engaged virtually, in the virtual reality, it's unlikely that they are going to move away. And also, the augmented reality is where, if it is an instrument, you can actually play that keyboard on a screen. So that way, we'll make sure that that child or that learner is actually playing that keyboard, and you can see it. That will be one of the best ways that can deal with the passiveness of the student and also the disengagement. The strategic, the first thing I say, it's preparedness. The first important thing is being prepared. And one of the things that is eating us, especially if I talk from a point of reference, is preparation. One, remember, I have kept myself to pedagogical issues and to do with popular music education. We still do not have a popular music education curriculum, especially in secondary schools. It is now coming in the CBC, but it is coming, I'm in high school, it is coming in the next 1 year. I don't know what to do with those students and how I will actually be able to instruct them on that popular music education, because I have not been professionally developed. You know what we call the teacher professional development. And that is why even in the keynote address, we are talking about collaboration and they're talking to each other. The multilateral, the government. I don't know the government, we are still the government. The teacher must talk. The teacher, we must have that conversation going, because one of the key things is that I am not prepared for them. So when they come and they see the teacher does not even know what to do, because it is very difficult to teach these young ones. They know the teacher is not aware of what she is doing, or worse still, we are learning together. So one of the strategic intents that we need to have is be sound prepared. Have equipment in place. I'm talking about virtual reality. How much does that gear cost? Is our government ready? Is it ready to invest that much? We're talking about internet connectivity. I had to come today because the last time from where I come from, I had very many issues of internet connectivity. It relies on electricity. That electricity is not there. And once electricity goes, the connectivity. So even if you are talking about the online requires a stable internet. Internet is also not cheap. So my take would be, strategically, it is preparedness. And preparedness is a whole lot of many things. The equipment, the teacher preparedness, the labs. We need labs. We need labs where we go and put the VR gears. We just don't put them in there. We need the special screens that we need to use. Are we committed to that? That is one of the things that will also work and frustrate the kids. You tell them today, we are going to have an online lesson. Then that day, the internet is not available. You shall spend half of the lesson trying to look for connectivity. I'm sure those ones who may teach in public, especially public secondary schools in Kenya, will talk about it. And not only in music, even in all other aspects. The popular music education itself, we have an attitude towards it. That is a music it's music for the wild. W-I-L-D, it's music for the wild. We are still navigating that space. I serve in a Christian-sponsored institution. There's even some songs that you cannot sing in the church. How do I bring them in class? The sponsor is going to say, this principal now, she has started bringing that type of music in there, and she's not suitable for our school. So it's a whole lot of things, and preparedness is the key. All round, involving everyone. So I wish I would let it there. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. We are moving forward. we are going to change the strategy a bit. What's going to happen is that we'll have the facilitators coming over, presenting their paper, and then you hold on to the questions. We are going to put all the questions together at once at the end. At the end, we are not going to move from one presenter asking questions. Will take a lot of time. So what we are going to do is that Dr. Moshere is going to come over, present her paper, then it's going to be followed immediately by the next presenter, like that, and then we'll have questions and answers at a go. After Dr. Moshere has presented her papers, we'll have Mr. Fred Kebe, then Mr. John Munai, and then we'll have Mr. Lenny Kimathi. They'll be following one another like that. You can hold on to the questions, which we'll ask thereafter. Welcome, Dr.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kiguta, for this opportunity. The computer has decided to do one of those things, so I'm waiting. It's good to be ready with something else, otherwise I wouldn't have presented today. As Patrick is preparing, I think I had one of the questions that was asked to my colleague, and it's good to note that I think I like it the way these papers are complementing each other. Somehow, in a different way, but speaking of the same thing. So I think, when you're ready, you just tell me. Oh, okay, so I'll not talk about it, but I can still mention that I think somebody asked about what do we do with the African music? How do we, with these technologies? And I thought, okay, one of the ways is to become innovative. It's a big space. So this is a gap, like my friend has just mentioned. These are gaps that are there. The West is doing a lot, innovating, and that's why maybe we find it hard to adapt or adopt. And because we have not come up with what suits us. And we have these brains here. So let's come up, and I'm glad to be speaking about this because I am the chair of the innovation and business incubation in this university. And this is a platform I can use to urge you to start innovating, and you'll find that we have African ways of teaching African music easily because we come up with African solutions. I hope I've been able to add value. Yes, I'm learning. It's hard to use somebody's computer, but I hope I'll manage. If you see me asking him to come back, just know I'm stuck. So thank you. Good afternoon. Yes, it's a good afternoon. We've had so many presentations, and they're beautiful, informing us in many ways. I think I'm glad to be presenting now because a lot of what I was going to talk about has been elaborated on, so mine will be just to emphasize and maybe bring in one or two new things, but it's the same in a different way. So my paper is concentrating on the music, the evolving music technologies in the music industry. and their impact on music education. And in my presentation, I'm going to define a few terms and then go on with the presentation, terms that are relevant to the paper. They are too small to be read here. I'm just trying to make sure that I can be able to read this. Sorry for that. Okay, we are good to go. The evolving music technologies in the music industry and their impact on music education. So that's my outline. I'll just define technologies a bit. By the University of Pretoria, I came across this definition that music technology is that part of the technological field which requires the application of engineering, scientific and music knowledge. Do you mind if we do without the projection? I can go on, right? Thank you. Okay, I think he's doing something that will enable you to see from the other side. So I said from the University of Pretoria, music technology is that part of the technological field which requires the application of engineering, scientific and music knowledge and methods combined with technical and musical skills to music activities. It lies in the occupational spectrum at the end closest to the musician. So, or anything that uses science to achieve desired results. And technology can be passive or interactive. In the 21st century, there is an era with unprecedented technologies or developments that impact on every sphere of life. After the COVID pandemic, new technologies categorized as information technologies, operational technologies, and Internet of Things have emerged, according to Lee and Sun 2023. And among the widely used information technologies are technologies of virtual reality, augmented reality, extended reality, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, Internet of Behaviors, Internet of Things, and others. So in this regard, the music industry has experienced dramatic changes in the area of producing, distributing, and consuming music. Ofechebe 2020 concludes that digital music innovation has both a positive and negative effect on Nigerian artists. Indeed, this is a reflection of any change that emanates in any area whereby challenges and opportunities emerge. So music education plays a significant role in providing the necessary knowledge, skills, ethical ways, and ethical ways required for operation in the music industry. However, the rapid evolution of technological innovations in the music industry pose a challenge on how music is taught and learned. It is clear that as the field of music reconstitutes itself around a new normal of increased hybridization, music educators too need to adapt and innovate their practice to respond to the new opportunities, challenges which emerge. So this paper purposely tackles the issue of evolving music technologies in the music industry and their impact on music education, highlighting examples across the globe. The impact will be discussed in reference to opportunities and challenges, accessibility and inclusivity, and music pedagogy. So it is hoped that this article will provide some insights in regard to desired music education in the 21st century music industry spaces. So currently, the technology is shaping, digital technology is shaping how the global music industry operates. According to Adedeji, social media as an important tool in music digitization is also bringing further transformation to the way artists, producers, and other music industry stakeholders conduct their business. He indicates that the social media has popularized Afrobeats and the Nigerian music industry, where new trends and a novel way of music production, promotions, and dissemination is being witnessed in the Nigerian popular music scenes. In Kenya, Genge music companies have performed relatively well in terms of generating revenues to meet their costs, signing new artists, increasing revenue from music streams, and so forth. So these statements underscore the significance of music technology in the development of the music industry in Africa. Currently, we are living in a world that is evolving supersonically in terms of technology. Every aspect of our lives is being conditioned to depend on technology because every second seems to birth new electronic gadgets and software. So any learning institution in the 21st century can only glory in the knowledge that their graduates are techno-savvy and can seamlessly interact with music industry spaces. So evolving technologies enhance the interaction among teachers and learners and improve the quality of education. So the music industry is embracing very sophisticated technologies that are dictating the approach to music education globally. Kratos 2015 describes how music education is at the tipping point because the way music is taught at school and experienced is hardly reconcilable with the music practice in the industry. It is the aim of this discourse to bring into light some of the evolving music technologies that are shaping the landscape of the music industry and their impact on music education. So globally, technology has made a supersonic leap with the advent of AI technology. These trends are impacting production, distribution, and consumption of music and its interaction with emerging technologies. I think there was, Dr. Tolu talked about the history of the music production. Okay. Blocking my view. So I will skip the history of, but when you come to the digital age, the advent of internet has Okay, thank you. So the advent of the internet, in the advent of the internet, music can easily be disseminated and accessed by global audience. And that has brought a revolution in the music production, okay, where they can record, write, and produce songs with professional quality, okay, and ease. So I'll mention some of the music technologies that are assisting artists and educationists to navigate this landscape. So we have the artificial intelligence, AI in music, which is a game changer in the music production. And we have online performances, what we are calling metaverse concerts, where there is an option for independent artists building an online global fan base. We have AI tools which create music and advance their music career. AI tools to create music and advance the musician's career, particularly in music production, mixing and mastering. They have the ability to analyze vast amounts of musical data, including chords, lyrics, key changes, and genres, and use that to generate completely new compositions. We have Google AI, Test Kitchen, Music LM, Amper Music, and Avia AI music generators used as brainstorming tools in the studio. They have ability to objectively and automatically analyze and enhance audio tracks, remove unwanted noise, balance frequency, and optimize sound levels, resulting in a pro-grade quality track. There are advanced analytics and insights. We have unprecedented access to data-driven intelligence and enable artists and their teams to make informed decisions that enable them to create tailor-made music marketing campaigns. We have what we call Amplify Link, which connects artists to fans checking out on their bio link or pre-service link. It collects real-time data on the number of clicks, audiences' geographic locations, demographics, and interests. It enables independent artists and Amplify Link users to identify their core fan base, identify emerging markets, and strategically redefine their marketing efforts to specific regions and demographics. We have direct-to-fan sales, what they're calling non-fungible tokens, and digital pressings, which enable artists to tokenize their music and related assets and sell them directly to their fans, skipping industry gatekeepers. Hence, they have control over their intellectual property and they have more revenue. We have collaborative tools and music production. With the rise of cloud-based platforms, artists and producers can collaborate remotely, giving them access to producers, songwriters, and artists based in different countries and time zones, and opening up their creative networks and sound palette. Cloud-based platforms enable artists to share files, stems, and ideas over the cloud seamlessly. They collaborate with a producer thousands of miles away and receive real-time feedback. Digital audio workstations enable multiple artists to work simultaneously on projects or on a project, but also use AI tools to perform repetitive tasks. We have what we are calling immersive technologies, which is a set of tools and software that enable users to experience a highly engaging and interactive environment. They create a sense of presence and interactively offering new possibilities for the music industry, ranging from live performances to sound engineering. We have what my friend has talked about, the virtual reality concerts, can transport the audience to a spectacularly designed environment, music with cutting-edge visual effects. the use of head-mounted, how many have experienced this? Okay, so you can see what she was trying to say about the limitations. Maybe the purchasing those gadgets is also expensive. We are headed there. The use of head-mounted displays and motion controllers to fully immerse users in the computer-generated environment. In the music industry, virtual reality has been instrumental in creating new concert experiences and enhanced listening environments, allowing fans to feel closer to the live performance. So the music technologies enable musicians and fans to experience music in innovative ways by overlaying digital content onto the physical world. It complements the integration of mediated and live music trends to reach a broader and younger audience while maintaining an engaging and interactive experience. So the artists can use AR to enhance live performances, performance visuals, while fans can interact with album, artwork, merchandise, or ticket sales via AR-enabled apps. So the combination of AR and social media platforms allows for unique content distributions and creative ways to promote arts and engage fans. We have what we call mixed reality, which is relatively a new concept combining elements of both VR or virtual reality and augmented reality to create a more seamless blend of the physical and virtual worlds. The mixed reality has the potential to revolutionize the music industry by enabling artists to create fully immersive performances that can be experienced anywhere using advanced headsets or wearables or wearable devices. We have what we call Dolby Atmos, which incorporates spatial audio, a technique that delivers sound in a three-dimensional manner. It has revolutionized how we listen to music, an experience that breaks the constraints of traditional stereo and surround sound formats. There is the new audio technology that fosters deeper emotional connection to the music, offering fans a more dynamic and realistic sonic experience that creates a sensation of being surrounded by sound and contributes to a more convincing and engaging experience to listeners. And I think behind the scenes we can have those links so that you can follow. So what is the impact of this on music education? I've highlighted among the 7 competencies of the CBC. There is what we are calling the digital literacy. That is one of the competencies that students are supposed to acquire. So learning institutions need to consider the viability and practicability of their programs, in particular music programs, to the job market. This will enhance the quality teaching and learning. So REN 2024 states that, or rather states the potential benefits of music technology, which include enhanced student engagement, where computer music technology can captivate students' interest and motivation by providing interactive and immersive learning experiences, thereby enhancing student engagement. I had somebody ask about the passivity. Technology, in this case, once it's available, does not allow one to be passive because you are hands-on and you are also engaged emotionally in every way because of the technologies that address the specific needs. We also have personalized learning, where technology can offer personalized learning pathways, catering to individual student needs, and providing adaptive feedback to support students' oral skills development. We also have access to diverse resources. Integrating technology into teaching can provide students with access to a wide range of resources, including digital libraries, interactive tutorials, and virtual practice environments, enriching their learning experiences. With the rise of online resources, musicians have more opportunities for education and skill development. This trend includes learning about songwriting, the difference between mixing and mastering and copywriting music. Continuous learning and networking are key for artists to stay competitive and relevant. We have the digital audio workstations and music production software such as FL Studio, Logic Pro, Ableton Live, and this enables musicians to produce highly quality music at a fraction of the cost of that traditional studio setups. So in educational institutions, the digital audio workstations are now a core part of music production courses, offering students hands-on experience with industry-standard tools. The virtual reality technologies and augmented reality offer immersive learning experiences that can enhance the teaching of complex musical concepts. The applications simulate live performances, environments, allowing students to practice in realistic settings without leaving the classroom. Through the virtual reality, students can explore virtual musical instruments, experiment with sound design, and even attend virtual concerts, broadening their understanding of global music trends and production techniques. We have online music education platforms, e.g. Coursera, Udemy, and YouTube. The online courses covering topics from music theory to instrumental techniques offer affordable alternatives to traditional music education, particularly for those in rural areas where music schools may not be accessible. By leveraging on online tools, they can reach a broader audience, including students who would not otherwise have access to quality music education. There is also the artificial intelligence in music composition. AI such as Amper Music and Ivor, or artificial intelligence virtual artists, enable users to compose music with minimal human intervention. So this is helpful in large classrooms where individualized attention is limited. By using AI tools, teachers can enhance the learning experience and help students improve their skills more effectively. There's music streaming platforms like Boomplay, Apple Music, Spotify, and Mudundo. They are transforming the way music is distributed and consumed in Kenya. Educators are increasingly using the streaming services as teaching tools, helping students understand modern distribution channels and audience engagement techniques. By studying popular playlists and trends, students gain insights into how music market operates today, providing real-world context to their education. The streaming platform also have made global music easily accessible, enriching the curriculum by exposing students to diverse musical styles and cultures. However, there are challenges to do with accessibility, as my friend said it clearly. The lack of reliable internet or electricity or digital services, they remain a significant hurdle for many students, particularly in rural areas. This digital divide exacerbates inequalities in music education, as students in urban centers have better access to resources than their rural counterparts. There is also a need for teacher training to ensure that educators are equipped to integrate these technologies effectively into their curricula. Without proper training, the potential of these tools to enhance music education may remain untapped. So developed nations may enjoy high adoption rates of streaming services, but other regions, like in Africa, we still grapple with the limited access to the internet and technological devices. So again, this is market saturation. You can imagine if everybody is composing within the next 10 seconds or 1 minute because of the enabling of these technologies, how many compositions do we have at once in the whole world? So that market saturation, who buys whose music? That is a challenge, but again, it doesn't stop us from being creative. Always there'll be that music that will stand out. Okay, so I think you've heard of the deep fakes, yeah, impersonation through mimicry, which raises issues of copyright. And I think one of you talked about that, where, I mean, we have issues, what we are calling ethical issues, the digital piracy. You've heard of Drake, is it Drex? His music, he's a rapper? Yes, somebody takes your voice and, you know, feeds it to the AI, which performs even better than you, and it becomes a hit. You know, I don't know who now earns the royalties or earns the proceeds from the music, okay? So that is the conflict, whereby your music is taken by another and it is transformed into something else, and you don't, do they become the owners? That is the question. So AI's threat to eliminate and take our jobs. Is AI going to take our jobs? And if that is the case, what should we do? All right. So these are the questions that I will leave with you. Why study music when technology can work for you? Do you think it's necessary to study music when we have all these technologies that can do it? You just sit back and let the technology work for you. Where is the future of the music industry if AI is threatening to take over the jobs in the music industry? Are we there yet in Africa? In Africa, do we have control over what is happening, or we have been reduced to mere consumers of evolving music technologies? So I'll end by saying innovation demands responsibility. Thank you. Thank you. Who?
Thank you. We are not going to have questions now. I hope you are holding those questions. We'll ask them later. Now, where is Kibe? Kibe is supposed to be here presenting your paper. Here you are.
All protocols observed. I greet you all. Good evening. As they continue setting up, in front of you is Fred Abuga Kebe, or Kebe for people who come from my homeland. I am an undergraduate studying bachelor's in music theory and composition, and today I'll be presenting my composition on Quantum Leap, a fixed point. Okay, so Quantum Leap is an incidental piece of music that fuses both Western and African musical components. So let us define incidental music. Incidental music is a piece of music that is used to accompany non-musical works. And in this sense, I mean films, plays, theater performances. And I specifically chose this particular title from a kind of an imaginative thought that came into my mind. The thought was, what if our African music history was there during the time of medieval period, all the way to Renaissance, all the way to Baroque, classical, and romantic up to date? Like, what would have it been? Could it have influenced the way we structure our compositions, our rhythms, how to notate them? Could it have been different? And now, after having that thought, I came up with a composition, and now the quantum leap, it aims to explore the influence of African music on Western music history. And for me to achieve this, I went and studied a bit on how other people have done this. And this I mean by program music. So program music is the general genre under the general genre that incident music falls under. So I went and saw how the African culture has taken its approach to writing their own program music, that is film music and storytelling. So also to achieve my thought process, I decided to create a narrative by the title Harmonies of Heritage and a composition which is Quantum Leap. Now, under African art music, Aram Simha of 1991 Aram Simha, 1991, under the aesthetics of African music, he argues that African composers use Western techniques to represent their African narratives, history, and cultural themes, creating a unique musical style. And this has been supported also by Agau Kofi to 2003. Then Kobena Nketia, 2013, also contends that African composers have utilized program music to preserve their oral traditions and convert them into written art forms. Now, let's go to the title itself. Now, according to Ken Wilber, in A Theory of Everything, he defines quantum leap as a radical transformation in consciousness where the individual or the society jumps from one level of complexity to a higher one, often by passing intermediary stages in an unlinear progression. So I felt this definition went in line with my thinking process. And now, in the context of my music, it was the cultural or intellectual shift that results in a dramatic and accelerated transition in how society perceives itself. So that transition from the current world that we are in right now, where we know we have the Western history and also the African music as a separate entity. And now, if it would have been together, which one would have influenced the other, rather? Or how would they have coexisted together during that period? We go to the plot summary of Harmonies of Heritage. So Harmonies of Heritage is a story that encompasses 3 college students. Number 1 is Kipchoge from Kenya. Number 2 is Amina from Nigeria. And the third one is Sizwe from South Africa. And they are brought together through passion of music. And in this setting of the story, it is a scholarship that brings them together to a university in abroad. Now, they were given a discussion project by the school to discuss about romantic era music. And after discussing their project, they went that night, they slept, and they dreamt a similar dream. Now, in this dream, as they dreamt, each of them was taken to a particular point in time in the Western music history, where they were able to change the narrative a bit. So, in the sense of Kipchoge is a profession in playing the East African drum, specifically the djembe. So, when he got to that point in his dream, he was able to incorporate the African idiom into the composition, because he had found himself in that particular setting where people are performing, and all of a sudden he just saw a drum in front of him and immediately he began playing. Then Amina also was taken to another particular point in time, still under the history. So in Kipchoge, he was taken to a period where it's linking to close late Renaissance to early Baroque. Then Amina was taken to Baroque, and she got to she got to introduce African idioms through her piano playing, and this made an effect or an impact on the composition at hand. Sizwe, she was given the opportunity to perform in a classical era stage where the audience were listening to her performance. And the melody that came straight to her was a South African folk song from the Dembele, which was initially created in the regions of Zambia, but majorly sung in South Africa, called Shosholoza. And the choir, one of the choirs that I sang is Gospel Soweto Choir. So 3 of them, they performed this, and after performing this, the next morning they woke up, and in their meeting, all of them shared this information, and they all said, I had this particular dream, I was taken back in time, and I got to play my music, and it made an impact. So in this shared experience, they understood that their music could coexist also with the Western music. And now, after going to the plot summary, now we go to the music itself. The music itself, it has 4 major sections. So section number 1, it encompasses the dream of Kipchoge, where he gets to play drum rhythm of the East African idiom. Then the second section is Amina's dream. The third section is Sizwe's dream. And the fourth section is where they meet up together to discuss what they had experienced. So the music itself, it's in D major, but it modulates at the middle when we get to Sizwe's dream to D minor. Then in the first section, the piano begins, and then it is later followed by the violin, and there's a theme that is being carried out throughout this section. So this theme is meant to represent that era, a specific era or a specific time and place where they were. It's supposed to set a mood or become like a background music of a theatrical performance. Now, in my composition, since it was a class project, I was able to incorporate some stylistic devices and also use of advanced chords. Some of the chords that I used were chromatic medians, the nines. The stylistic devices, I used canonic entry. I also used rhythmic sequence as my fellow colleague helps me to log into my music, which I will share shortly. So the things that I incorporated were rhythmic sequence. I also incorporated secondary dominant modulation to show these shifts in the different story and to set the mood of a theatrical performance. Now, this basic composition was meant to highlight a specific issue, and that issue is seen in the subtitle, A Fixed Point. So as much as these 3 characters had this illusion of what if, or me as the composer, as much as I had that illusion of what if African music history would have fused together with Western, at the end of the day, the fixed point is supposed to bring us back to the reality. Like whatever we have right now is, we are using the standard of mostly the things that we're using is the Western musical standard theory to create our own music. And in doing so, we do not need to look upon the past or rather regret why it is there, but we should push ahead to write our stories and enrich our culture and preserving it, as Nketia said, through this acquired knowledge that we gained. So let's move on to my presentation, or rather my composition. So the entire story, it is in my paper, and this one is just a plot summary for the presentation. So as she opens, Okay, so the first section takes 32 bars. Um, is everyone able to see? So as they continue fixing it up. So basically the first section, as I said, it is Kipchoge's Renaissance story. And the second one is Amina's Baroque mastery of piano playing. The third one is Sizwe, melodic playing, or rather romantics. Then at the last section, I fused all the themes. So in every section, I used different themes to highlight the different sections that we are in the music, or rather the different stories that are depicted in a particular incident in this narrative. And this particular performance and all the illusion of thinking is based of a narrative. It's just an imagination. Hence, that is why the category of my music composition is incidental music. So it falls under the subtopic of program music genre. Is everyone able to hear? Okay, I would like to begin. Thank you for having me.
All protocols observed, good evening. So as they prepare, they're going to perform an original piece titled The Descent of Sinchika Park. This is a chance-based work based on works I have studied by composers such as John Cage, Karl-Heinz Stockhausen, and the famous French composer Pierre Boulez. I'd like to say thank you to my performers, Brenda Changach on the flute and David Kibunja on the piano. So I didn't introduce myself previously. My name is John Baraka Munai. I'm a finalist, a fourth year undergraduate, doing a Bachelor of Degree in Music Theory, Composition, and Performance. So my paper is titled Reimagining Chance, Collaborative Creativity Between the Redefinition of Composer-Performer Dynamics in Contemporary Music Education. Now what you've just heard is the very first performance of this piece. I, as the composer, have never heard it before, so we are both new in this. So this is a work that I wrote following, it's actually modeled after Stockhausen's Klavierstück, which translates to pieces for the clavier or piano. It's number 11, which makes use of fragments that he has instructed can be played by the performer in any way, shape, or form that the performer imagines. This means you could take a fragment, for example, break it apart, like pieces to a puzzle. It's basically like playing a game. So what I decided to do with my work, which is titled The Descent of Sinchika Park, was to write 13 different fragments and instruct, or actually it's on the manuscript score, which is attached to the document, that the only thing that actually matters is the flute part, because what you've heard on the piano is improvised. It's for flute and unwritten piano. So this whole idea is to try and bring the performer as part of the composition process, that as a composer, your work is to write music. If the performer so wishes to add on to what you've done or what you've written, to subtract, to remodel, it is possible. So my objectives with this work is to try and show you people that there are many ways to approach composition. You could write in the strict style, you could use free form, you could invite your performers, for example, to come in as co-composers in this work. So now let me get on to the definition of chance music for you to better understand the work that has been played. So Michael Nyman, in his book Experimental Music, Cage and Beyond, discusses chance as a method where the composer introduces elements of unpredictability to relinquish control of the final outcome of a piece. This means that the work of a composer basically ends where the double bar line is. Everything after that is variable. It is like an equation of sorts, a slightly unbalanced one. So for the title, The Descent of Sinchika Park, this models, for those of you who are familiar with a famous comic strip of the early to mid 20th century by Hergé called Tintin and the Seven Crystal Balls, there's this character, an antagonist called Raskaka Park. So there's this scene where he descends from the heavens in this massive ball of fire, comes down and burns his mummy as a sign that had been foretold throughout the story up until that point, where those who desecrate the grave of the Inca king, shall face his wrath, for he comes back as a god. This ties down to the old belief of having god kings or god rulers. So in this work, I took that idea, which was a contemporary take by Hergé on a culture he hadn't known, and made it even more contemporary by making Sinchi a sort of original character and having his own backstory where he's now coming back from the heavens as a god to meet his people. So for the compositional techniques in this work, as you have heard, there is no key center, so it's mostly atonal, and there are various ways of doing this. So this could be accomplished through use of serialism, or a method of harmonizing music that me and my friends have termed as, harmonizing by means of sonority, not exactly by generating tones as you do in serialism, but more of like looking at a sound, then trying to, or an image, for example, like let's say a flower, like this flower, for example, look at a flower and you want to imagine what this flower will sound like. So you take a note and harmonize it to sound like that flower. So that was the approach I took with writing this, having various layers and sort of intermixed methods, some slight serialism with serial arpeggios that aren't used as much, and more of what I will term as my own language as a composer. Also, for this particular performance, I had instructed the pianist to play in the style of Ekosru Sorabji, who is a rather obscure British composer who had this sort of harmonization technique of doing both vertical and horizontal harmonies and then superimposing them over each other on an instrument like a piano. So I decided to also have that between the flute and whatever the piano will have played. So the second technique I used is something called new complexity. This is something that came out of the second Darmstadt school in Germany, where there was a rift between the serialists and the new age composers who had come in, who were actually pioneered by one Brian Funnyhow. So Funnyhow had this whole idea that you could write music, make it as difficult as possible, and then just tell the performer, that your work is not to replicate a one-to-one of what the composer has written. Actually, your work is to preserve the intent and the style of the composer. So, for example, if the composer has written various lines and you can only play like one line because of technical ability, it's okay to play that one line as long as the intent has been maintained. Because he argues that the most important part of music is not the sight reading. That to him is a tertiary thing. It is more of having a sort of soul to the music, like reflecting both you as a performer and the composer as one entity. So this can also be accomplished through use of complex notation systems, which I borrowed from the jazz style, where you have X notes, the drum notes, which I used to imply ghost tones, also an abject use of split tones on the flute to create sort of rounder and slightly brighter tone. So now for the form of the music. This is modular form. As I described earlier, it's written in 13 short fragments that can be disassembled, assembled, played in any order. This is to ensure that no two fragments ever sound the same. And also because there's this thought that the work of gods isn't exactly something humans can comprehend. So it tends to be very unpredictable. So I took that motif, sort of have every performance to be unpredictable, because if I was to call them back here on stage, you wouldn't hear what you've heard initially. Yeah, so that was what I thought I could have used to sort of bring in this theme. Now, having described my composition, now back to the title of the paper. This paper actually focuses this composition in a way that shows that it's possible actually in composition classes in the university and also going forward, especially in Kenya, that you can have a class where musicians or other composers are able to showcase their sound. If your sound is more of a contemporary sound, not a very classical sound, a jazzy sound, like a keynote speaker had said earlier in the morning, or sort of, actually it's whatever sound you can have as a composer. It's okay to have that sound, and having that sound, it sort of like pushes forward, it encourages creativity in the class, it makes things more interesting. And for someone in particular, if you have the element of chance, which isn't exactly like, what you think of when you think of chance. When you think of chance, the thing you hear the most is 433. Very rarely people mention other works. For example, like the title work by John Cage in his book, The Book of Changes. So this work sort of tends to, break that mold and sort of show you that it's possible to have chance music and even have it as something examinable in composition classes, where as long as your intent is stated as a composer, what you're looking for, what you desire, and as long as the performers can bring it out, then that is actually possible in music composition. So finally, my recommendations for this will be to foster collaboration between composers and performers. At this age, given the newer nuances in compositional techniques that have emerged from Europe, Japan, Asia, North America, South America, even Oceania, which is Australia and New Zealand, that you can have collaboration as a composer, both with your performers, with other composers, and have it all as one work. Sort of bring in music as what Beethoven had called it earlier in the preface to his Ninth Symphony, as a universal language, the language of man, the language of the soul. And then the second recommendation is to incorporate non-traditional techniques that are emerging with newer composers of the newer age, the sort of avant-garde styles, such as new complexity, advanced serialism, pioneered by Pierre Boulez, and new complexity. And finally, to promote innovation and diversity in composition. Lastly, I would like to leave you with a quote, still on the same topic, by the late jazz pianist Bill Evans. He states that musicians have been given freedom, and with freedom comes responsibility. And as a musician, it's your work or rather it's your duty to determine how responsibly you will use your freedom in writing music and in performing music. Thank you.
Mic check. All protocols observed. Good evening. My name is Lenny Kimati. I would kindly ask for a minute to be able to set up before I start my presentation.
After Lenny is through, we'll have question and answer session. Then we'll break for tea shortly for 5 minutes, and then we'll be back to finish the remaining part.
Yes, thank you for your patience. My presentation today is on a piece I composed called Intrusive Thoughts. And first question is, why intrusive thoughts? The composition in itself was an intrusive thought. I was wondering what my thoughts would sound like if they were composed. I have various themes in my composition to show the gap between my intrusive thoughts and other thoughts, i.e., normal and jovial thoughts. Emil Nold, a German artist, said, "The task of the artist is to give a voice to the soul, to express the inner experience, the emotional life of the individual." Edvard Munch, a Norwegian painter, said, "Art is not about beauty. Art is an expression." In one of my units, we were learning about history and art music compared to pop music. And we were able to see that art music is more technical and showcases the technical aspects of music in terms of composition, while pop music delves into the entertainment part and how people can enjoy music and everything. So in my piece, I use expressionism and neoclassicism to depict my intrusive thoughts. Expressionism is shown in the development of the piece and how it evolves and progresses, while neoclassicism is in the harmony of the instruments and how they work together to paint the picture I wanted to portray. Definition of terms that I'll be using while explaining my performance. Intrusive, causing disruption or annoyance through being unwelcomed or uninvited. Intrusive thoughts, ideas and images that come to mind uninvited and typically are unwanted. They can be caused by stress or anxiety. In my piece, intrusive thoughts and how it grows according to the composition is defined as malice. Normal thoughts. This is the basic way of thinking that is in line with my everyday activities and abilities. For example, putting on my shoes properly. Jovial thoughts. These are thoughts that bring ecstasy and euphoria, resulting in happiness. Instruments and their roles in my performance. The acoustic guitar. It plays the musical theme of jovial and calm thoughts. I use the guitar because of how its tone has a serenading effect. the violin 1, it plays the reaction to my thoughts by displaying my mood. The violin 2 plays my secondary reaction to my mood. Mark Manson, in a book, describes it as secondary loop. Well, the title of that book is quite controversial considering the principles of the school, so I won't be titling the book. But he describes it as a reaction to a reaction. Bear with me. When you're angry, that's a reaction. Then when you realize you're angry and become angry because you're angry, that's the secondary loop. So the violin plays that role of the secondary loop. Sorry for that. I used violins because of the agility and the soft tone that they carry. The piano, it plays the musical theme for intrusive thoughts. It depicts the malice of my intrusive thoughts. I use piano because of its heavy tone and resonance. The musical themes. There are 3 musical themes: normal thoughts, jovial thoughts, and intrusive thoughts. We start off with the normal thoughts. Its tempo is in andantino, slightly faster than the walking pace, usually used in lo-fi music or in full low-fidelity music, which is a genre that embraces raw sounds. In my piece, I wanted to showcase the raw emotion and everything that goes on while I go through the jovial, normal, and intrusive thoughts. There are long rhythms played by the guitar during the theme of normal thoughts, chromatic chords by the guitar and the piano, short melodic motifs by the piano. One of the motifs, hopefully my voice won't betray me, is it goes something like yes. Sorry for that. There's contrapuntal playing by the violins, imitating the piano motif that I've just sung for you. Despite the piano being the villain in the composition, in this theme, it helps maintain the calm mood, although it somehow influences the violin, which displays my mood. We move on to the other theme of jovial thoughts. The guitar plays the theme also in this theme, and the tempo is in adagio, slow tempo to emphasize the euphoria brought by the guitar chords. The guitar is arpeggiated, the notes for the guitar are arpeggiated. There are triplets in the violin too, creating a swooning effect. Interaction by the piano taking over from the guitar. During the jovial thoughts, the piano will take over from the guitar playing the theme, and you'll now get the feel of the intrusive thoughts coming in. We move on now to the intrusive thoughts. The tempo goes back to andantino. Instruments playing are the piano and the violin. Pedal notes for piano for the malicious effect. There's a pre-theme, which the chords are F minor and F suspension 2. Chromatic chords used in the intrusive thoughts theme are F major, a German augmented sixth, an E major minor seventh, an A seventh, and an A major. Those who don't do music, hello. Sorry for that, I had to put on the depiction of the chords. Melody by the violin 1, and it being adapted by violin 2 and the piano. There is a melodic phrase which is played by the violins, and it's adapted throughout the piece and variated as we go on to bring out the effect of intrusive thoughts. Antiphony between the violins indicating struggle. Harmony between the violins shows synchronicity. The climax of my intrusive thoughts. The climax runs from bar 99 to bar 104. The scalic sequence of C major and E major by the piano. Chromatic chords by the piano. Adaptation of a motif from the normal theme by the violins, showing the need to go back to normal. At this point, there is too much intrusive thought, and there's too much malice, that my mood feels like it has to go back to the normal thoughts because it's too much. The violin one and piano imitating each other, and the violin two playing a third below them, creating homophony. There's a section where you'll hear a homophonic texture between the instruments, but the guitar is not among them. Triplets in the homophonic section imitating the malicious laughter. You will get to understand the laughter when you hear it. Normal and jovial thoughts. We go back to the theme of normal and jovial thoughts to indicate that the intrusive thoughts are done, and now we are going back to what we know and how we are used to feeling. In the normal thoughts theme, it's similar to the previous normal thoughts at the beginning. At the jovial section, there's a variation. The tempo changes to lento, a slow tempo indicating me enjoying the jovial thoughts. There is no piano, thus the villain in the piece is gone. Perfect cadence at the end for finality of the thought turmoil, indication of the preservation of the jovial thoughts despite the piece ending. Yes. Now let me playing the piece.
So as Lenny is working on the sound, we are anticipating that Dr. Odeolu Olowofela Agunsanya of Ibadan University, Nigeria, is online. Because he is coming next, Dr. Adeolu. We have decided that we go on and on up to the end. We have the questions and the answers at the end, at the very end, because if we break short, then we might leave here very late. And therefore, technicians, I hope you are getting Dr. Adeolu, because he's coming in next. Immediately after Dr. Adeolu, we'll have Dr. Thulani Zulu. Dr. Zulani Zulu will come immediately after Dr. Adeolu. And then we'll have Mr. Kadupe Sofola. And then we'll be followed by Mr. Stephen Sikwata. And then we'll have Mr. Michael Kiguta. It appears there is a problem with the technical issues.
Sorry for that. Due to technical issues, you won't be seeing the piece. I hope you'll enjoy the audio. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's clap for Lenny. At this juncture, I would like to listen to Dr. Adeolu. I hope he's on. And then from there, we are going to listen, after Dr. Adeolu, we'll listen to Mr. Stephen Sikwata. Mr. Stephen Sikwata. We have moved the other speakers to tomorrow morning. They will be here very, very early in the morning. The first one that has been moved is Dr. Thulani Zulu, who will present tomorrow very early in the morning. We have also moved Mr. Kiguta, and we have moved Mr. Kadupe Sofala. Each will be given 10 minutes tomorrow morning, very early in the morning. I have cards here for the tea. We will pick the cards after we have listened to Stephen Sikwata. Stephen Sikwata, be ready, because after Dr. Adeolu has finished his presentation, you'll come in, then we'll have the tea for all of us as we wind up the day. But I am sure you're still retaining the questions. We can have a few questions at the end. Then tomorrow morning we'll start early, just like the program states. Program states that we begin at 7:30. Today we started a bit late. There were some teething problems here and there. But we expect now that the program is rolling, we expect that everyone will be here seated by 7:30 in the morning. And then we'll start off. And all the presenters tomorrow will be given only 10 minutes. 10 minutes. So go and rearrange your work in such a way that they can fit in the 10 minutes and be able to pass a message. Thank you. Is Dr. Adeolu on? Sikwata, be ready. Can even move closer here. Sikwata.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Ari, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My paper is on reimagining music service learning practice. Of course, I'm a music student in the digital space. What is service learning? Service learning is actually a multidisciplinary pedagogy which is situated in institutes of education, where student learning, teachers were being taught how to go about teaching. It is a great academically relevant activity that address human community needs into a course. It's a cooperative learning education approach where students connect knowledge and theory to practice.